Hello YouTubers, RogueMonkeyJr here. So update 3.1 is slated to release tomorrow morning for Battlefield 2042. So we're going to go over the patch notes real quick. So as always, there is a link in the description down below if you want to go and read the entirety of the patch notes for yourselves. But without further ado, let's jump straight into this. So there's a little preamble here yet again before the patch notes. So no pats. Last week we made update number 3 available to you, which included a large set of changes to improve your gameplay experience. We wanted to get those changes in your hands as soon as possible. And now we are following up with this week's update, as promised, filled with further fixes and balance changes. So a little summary of the most important changes coming up. So improvements to bullets hit registration consistency, balance changes for bullet dispersion and recoil, further balance changes to ground vehicle, 30mm, 40mm, and 57mm cannons to reduce their effectiveness against infantry. A fix for a rare bug where a player could appear invisible to enemies, fixes for several bugs related to grenades and launchers, improvements to the menu flow for Xbox players to make it easier to opt out of crossplay, and multiple audio improvements to enhance your overall sound experience, focused on clarity, distance, and directional perception. Update 3.1 is our last game update before the start of the holidays. That means our teams will take a break towards the end of this month and return in the new year with fresh eyes ready to go on the road to Season 1. We'll see you again in the new year where we'll talk more on further changes and improvements you can expect for Battlefield 2042. So moving on to the full patch notes. So fixes, changes, and improvements, starting off with general. Players that are not the party leader can now cancel while waiting in a queue. Xbox crossplay can now be enabled, disabled in the options menu on Xbox. Your sort settings will now be correctly remembered when refreshing the Battlefield Portal server browser. Fixed an issue where loadouts would sometimes be empty on the spawn screen after joining the server, preventing weapon selection. Made improvements to ensure aim assist is more consistent during console gameplay. Rangers' effective combat range and overall health has been decreased. Audio made various tweaks to the overall audio experience to improve clarity, distance, and directional perception. Fixed an issue where soldiers would not always play indoor specific footsteps. Moving on to weapons. Removed bounce from underbarrel grenades when firing at short distances. 40mm AP grenades now properly damage vehicles. Fixed some weapons displaying wrong ammo counts for specific magazines. DXR-1 and NTW-50 bolt action rifles reload animation increased by 0.2 seconds. Adjusted dispersion values for most weapons, which results in a faster dispersion decrease when tap firing or doing short bursts. Adjusted dispersion increases for most weapons. It now takes slightly longer for weapons to become overly inaccurate in sustained fire. Adjusted the recoil values to prevent over-aggressive recoil jumps for the AK-24, LCMG, PKP-BP, SFAR, MGL, and PP-29. They improved hipfire accuracy for all SMGs to make them better stand out from other automatic weapon archetypes. LMG dispersion and recoil lowered to improve performance in sustained fire, which was very much needed in my opinion because LMGs were kind of like the black sheep of the lot of weapons that we have right now. Additional improvements to recoil control for all weapons, more specifically automatic weapons, increased close range damage and consistency of the MCS 880 when using buckshot shell or flechette shells, fixed a bug that caused bullets to be fired below the player's aim for the SFAR MGL and the K30. Next, vehicles. Fixed a bug where vehicle weapons sometimes did not deal blast damage on a direct hit. We're reducing the ground vehicle 30mm cannon effectiveness versus infantry. It now overheats faster, has a slightly reduced rate of fire and blast damage, and increased fall-off damage at distance. So the rate of fire was reduced from 350 to 330, the heat per bullet from 0.13 to 0.14, the heat drop per second 0.5 down to 0.475, and the blast damage down from 20 to 18. For the LCAA hovercraft, the 40mm GPL grenade launcher, blast damage lowered from 55 to 35. The 40mm utility pod upwards firing angle is now easier to use. I don't know if you guys have ever used this, but it was an absolute piece of junk. But hopefully this change makes it easier to use. For the EBAA Wildcat 57mm cannon, the removed dispersion ammo is now 8 as opposed to 12. The impact damage is reduced to 75 from 85, and the blast damage was reduced from 70 to 35. Moving on to gadgets, so frag grenade increased the time to detonate a frag from 1.1 second to 1.4 second after first bounce on a hard collision, increased damage of frag grenade across game modes to deal 120 damage and guarantee a kill on armored players too. reduced frag and incendiary grenade max ammo count from 2 to 1, so really honing in on the reduction of explosive spam, which is great. So for the proc sensor, I think we all saw some nerfs coming to this. So they lowered the spotting radius from 30 meters to 20 meters. They lowered the uptime from 30 seconds to 14 seconds. And they lowered amount of proc sensor a player can carry and deploy from 2 to 1. So some pretty serious nerfs for the proc sensor. Hopefully people will be running other things and you won't be spotted on the minimap 99.9% of the time. So Battlefield Hazard Zone fixed an issue that caused the roaming occupying forces LATV4 recon to spawn at the wrong times or not at all. For Breakthrough, Kaleidoscope, Rooftop capture objective has been removed. There are now 2 capture objectives at the bottom in BT large and 1 at the bottom in BT small. For Orbital, Rooftop capture objective has been removed. There's now a single capture objective at the bottom in BT large and BT small. Hourglass, Rooftop capture objective has been removed. There's now a single capture objective at the bottom in BT large and BT small, and they also fixed an issue where players were spawning out of bounds. So I think we all saw this coming. Rooftop objectives weren't a good idea whatsoever, especially considering people can call in vehicles, and some of the only access points to those rooftop objectives were elevators or zip lines, and the attacking team more often than not would just get mowed down as soon as a pixel of them would appear on somebody's screen that was on top of the building. So very good changes for Breakthrough here. I really didn't know why they decided to put objectives on the roof, but good on them for changing it and taking them off. And last but certainly not least, Soldier, improvements on backpedaling into objects when being in prone position, and fixed a rare issue where players could turn invisible when spawning on a full/destroyed vehicle. So that'll do it for the patch notes for update 3.1. Let me know what you think about all these changes in the comment section down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.